Welcome back to High Winds.
Okay. Alright. Okay, yeah, sure, fine. You wanna freaking call it that? Then you do that.
You just work faster. You gotta be fast. You gotta bam intros all the time.
I don't want to do any of the intros ever again. You do them all.
Just do an insert intro.
I'm playing video game.
Yeah, can we just make...
I'm the funny video game man. What?
Was that the funny Let's Players told me to do it?
Funny Let's Players told me to do it.
Yeah. Was that from any place?
Super Mega.
Super Mega.
Yeah. So now I can do this room like the way it's supposed to be done, like that.
Oh, yeah.
And now destroy all these things. Bye bye. Oh, they're still alive.
Yeah.
Well.
Oh, that's nice.
Every time, as soon as I go into the water, they just immediately die. And there he goes. Bye bye. This is very satisfying.
Just do all of them.
Look at this. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Oops. Sorry, I didn't mean to get you.
Yeah. Accidentally did what I wanted to do later on.
Yeah. So, every time you light a torch, these things go down, which is what I wanted, because then I can get that chest back there. It might just be a Miiverse stamp. We haven't found any of them yet, because I actually know where a couple of them are, and I'm deliberately avoiding them, but I don't know what this is. I kind of want the compass, honestly, which we haven't gotten yet. That's bizarre. God. Ugh, fuck it.
I'm so sick of fucking pieces of just give me some progress.
I mean, like, this room I think is pretty much optional now that we don't need the...
So why do you need pieces of heart? Is it just to...
Why do you think?
What do you think
What's
pieces
the
theory
of heart
behind it? Is he heartless?
Yep.
Is he kind of his heart broken and he needs to find pieces of it?
Yeah.
When he goes on this adventure.
Yeah, that's it.
It's Ilya, isn't it? She ran off on him.
Yep. Soul is heart.
Yeah.
Every single thing that you just said is true.
No.
Oh, suddenly it's not true. You want answers, and I tell you, and you're like, no, I don't believe you. Well, freak you. That's right, I said it.
In the original The Legend of Zelda, 1986.
Is that when
That's what he was doing. Looking for the truth.
Yep. Did you know that in video games, not everything has to make fucking sense?
Yeah.
You know, it bothers you greatly.
It does. Bothers me so much.
Why?
Because I just like things to make sense.
Well, video games aren't for you then, I suppose.
No, I know that. I'm not a big gamer. I'm not a keen gamer. Hyped for any new releases.
I'm surprised you enjoy any kind of media. Honestly. Why is he talking about that? It doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense in my real world ideals, so I'm just going to have to ignore it.
Yes, I need dark realism. Because I've led such a...
More like dark realism,
I've led such a blissful and safe life that I need dark reality more than anything.
Uh-huh.
I need hardships.
I'll give you a fucking hardship in a second, mister.
You know, that's why I can't understand why my main character is... Like, he comes out of jail, why he can't just bounce back into life.
You know, it's so funny that you think that you can just do that, even though it's probably the least realistic thing in your comic.
He's kind of like gotta find it.
That you can be in jail for how many years? 15?
12 years. Yeah.
And he'll just come out like, I'm alright.
Huh? What? I was in prison? Oh, yeah, I was.
It's just like you have double standards, and you need to figure it out.
Well, that was the thing in English communications in high school.
That is not what I just did.
One of the things that we were told to do.
Yeah, I'll do it this way. That one.
Was write about stuff that you know.
That one.
So I can't.
You wrote nothing.
No, I wrote about a butcher. That's what I wrote about.
You know about butchers?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's what I did for my story. And so I don't do that for... I mean, I started Hale Kane 12 years ago. So...
I got this. Okay.
Nice. And so I suppose it doesn't help that when it comes to trying to flesh out and write about things that I couldn't really write about things that I couldn't possibly understand. is a great challenge for me.
Right.
Like, I mean, superheroes don't exist, but there are great people.
You need more creative liberties, is what I think that you need.
Yeah.
You need to be able to let go of your preconceived ideas of why does this make sense and why doesn't it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, when you're writing a story, it's a bit more different. You do want it all to make sense, but it makes sense within the world. You know? There's a video game, like, why is put freaking rubies in pots? Who would do that? It's like, it doesn't matter. It's a video game. You know? There we go. So now I can go this way, and I've opened up a whole bunch of shit. A whole bunch of freaking nonsense.
We've been through the whole prison thing with KJ. So, I think that... So, a few things happen after you've been in prison for such a long time. So, you feel closed off from other people, emotionally restricted. And so, that is going to help for KJ. So, before he went to prison, he was like a happy little boy. Loves his mum, tells her everything under the sun. And comes out of prison 12 years later. And he's closed off. He doesn't really want to talk to anyone about anything. All he knows is he wants to do the only thing that he knows that he can do, which is be superhero. And so he wants to do that, but he doesn't really want to have conversations to do it and explain how he feels and things like that.
Right.
But at the same time, this female character, his first wife, Alice, she's also a little bit closed off, just not as much as he is. Like, he's more far gone than she is. But she's a different kind of far gone. I guess it's like when you're the greatest thing that's ever been, which is what sort of her story is. That she is so good that she needs a challenge, and that's why she turned to mentoring up and coming superheroes. KJ comes along, he's only a couple of years younger than her, but his potential was kind of sapped from him because he was in prison for so long. And so he's that next challenge for her. But
what?
Sort of what happens for her? Like you just feel her next challenge is to kind of fall, really. Like it's like the rise and fall of everything. And eventually it'll happen to KJ, that's the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the biggest challenge for me is to find something that makes me like KJ. And what the thing is that when you there is a book. There's an example of this in V8 Supercars. Of Scott McLaughlin, who is very talented and has been fortunate enough to drive for some teams when they were really good, and so he's had everything that he needed to perform at his best and to be very successful. And so that's the same sort of thing for KJ, where it's hard to appreciate somebody when they seem to have everything.
Right.
And so for KJ, it'll be, I think, I just have to accept the fact that the only way you're really going to understand what it's like to be him is this intense desire he has to fulfill his potential.
Right.
Which is what Scott McLaughlin has. He goes into, he gets all this good stuff and he wants to give it the best that it can get. And that's what KJ wants to do. He wants to be the greatest superhero because he believes that he can do it. And he's just had the barrier of prison in the way. I'm just concerned mostly that I'm going to get the effects of prison wrong. That's my biggest concern really for KJ. And that it's that a person who was in prison would for such a long time would not be able to go back to the things that they were doing before they went to prison.
Yeah. Not easily, at least.
But for KJ, in his time, things didn't change so much in the outside world as much as he would have thought. Like, technology changed, but in terms of superheroes, the only thing that really changed was well, the main thing is I think Alice started her career. Basically, Alice and Data are the main things that really happened in the time that he was in prison. That Data and the fall of Detroit.
Right.
And
You know, those are pretty big things.
Yeah, those are major things.
And nothing to sneeze at.
No. And so, like, right now, his greatest achievement is saving his hometown, which means a huge amount to him. And I think that the image of him sitting in his family home, his childhood home, which has been overrun and ruined by criminals.
Right.
And he's just sitting in there in his armoured suit, sleeping. It's a bit of a coming of age sort of image, I think.
I guess.
That he's like in this place that this is where he was a little kid and had like a nice time and everything was great and roses and sunshine. And now he's just like in this. Now he's just thought of this brooding superhero, where his goal of being at this place at his hometown is to beat the superheroes and take it back.
Damn it.
Missed.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's so many things that you could potentially do and write and make and say. Remember, you know, it's kind of a weird mix, right? Because you want to be as realistic as possible, but I always keep saying this.
There obviously are limitations to.
You want to having that creative liberty of just being able to have it however you want. You know, yes, he is highly affected, but he should be highly affected by prison, which is a realistic thing. But how he is affected by it, you know, you can make that yourself. You can make that up.
Because he's his own person.
Yeah, you're
He's
the creator.
The way that
So how would it affect him?
Yeah.
And so far, your attitude towards it is it doesn't. So that is, you know, I guess you could, but I would work with that.
No, that was my attitude. My attitude now is that it does.
Right.
Because you've stressed that so much, and so I've had to look into it, and
I just think I've said it before, but I think that it's
there doesn't seem to be as much information as I wish there was on what happens to people in prison, in terms of what happens to them as a person.
well. What I'm saying is that like you can make that up, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to use references as to what other people. I mean, you can, but what other people experience. But he's your character, so you know, think of it how he might react to it. You know, to being literally imprisoned and prevented from doing things and isolated from society for such a large portion of his life. You know?
Yeah.
You be the one to think about that.
Hmm.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I think I might have left the chest in the main room.
Hmm.
I think it's weird. You have a weird problem of wanting to be realistic, but also needing that creative liberty to write whatever you want.
Yeah. The thing is that I usually do write whatever I want, but I try to limit myself with realism.
And that's a crutch that you've created for yourself.
But it's not something that I think has actually inhibited me in any way, or
I mean, it's a style.
That there were any things that I couldn't do because of that limitation.
It's a style, you know, and I'm not judging you for it. I completely missed this chest. I kept looking at it and I just didn't get it. I don't think.
Like I've done the armored suits thing. That's not a very realistic sort of thing.
I mean, I guess
The realism that I went with for it was in the fight with the bad guy that he fights with it. Hang on, how many bad guys does he fight? I think he just fights the one guy with the powers, Francois Lamont. He throws a house at him, and so KJ, because he's got like the booster boots, he flies into the house, and then the house hits the ground and does this massive rollover thing and shatters to a million pieces, and then he's crushed by a piece of the. He's crushed by the house, and so he's got like an injured arm. But then, like, what's the suit made out of? Stuff like that. But so the creativity there is that he's fine, but he's got a little injury for him. Whereas other characters like Data, she's a gritty reality of your own powers can be used against you, and that's why she has like half her face gone. It's like her learning her powers at a young age. Her life is rough and tough and has been the entire time a constant struggle.
Yeah.
Like basically, the second she started getting her powers, it was game over for anybody else who wanted to look after her at the age of like 14 or something. And then after that it was, alright, put you up for adoption, go to America, live there for a couple of months with a foster family, and then like they get too controlling because, you know, they don't understand what she's got going on, and so
Oh, I do have a key. God fucking damn it! Sorry, I was looking all over like where if I had a key, where would it indicate? It's just over my freaking rupees. I just wasted a lot of time.
no.
Don't mind me. I've done this temple really badly, but it's fine.
Should Stephanie skip that?
No, I mean you were talking about stuff.
Yeah.
So
Just
you know.
thinking about it. I think that yes, I think some of the characters I have about that are about difficulties, and so I think for KJ the difficulty is finding himself, finding something that he's comfortable in.
Yeah.
Because he's just kind of had everything handed to him on a platter, except prison, which was. Yeah, he didn't want that, obviously.
I mean, that would be a shock, though, right?
He was about to set off on a great, brilliant superhero career and suddenly was stopped before it barely begun.
So, yeah, then think about that. Like, someone who basically had everything handed to him and suddenly got everything taken away.
Yeah.
That would surely affect you in some major way, right?
Yeah.
How
But maybe he wouldn't want to strive for it so much.
Alright. This is up to you. This is where the ball is now in your court.
But
And I think also when I keep, because every time I talk to you about it, you always think you still don't know what to do with him. I think that your biggest problem with him is that you have an idea of what you want him to be like, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to stray away from that. And I think that you should,
Yeah, I know.
because this idea you consider to be boring and not interesting, and you're not really passionate about it. So that's what needs to change then, you know?
Well,
And it's hard because you have it in your head, like, this is what I want him to be like, but you got to tweak it. You got to change it up. Like, make big changes, not just like a little, like, well, he also does this. Like, maybe, you know, major personality changes is what I'm recommending.
So in that case, then, instead of when he left prison, he wanted to go save Detroit, he didn't want to and was later convinced that he had to, or something like that. Because then that would be more of a 12 years of being unable to do the thing that he wanted to. And when you've been taken away from something for a long time, or been unable to access it, or you've missed out on so much, it's very crushing, and you don't really want to pursue that thing anymore because it just seems impossible. And so, having his family around to encourage him. So basically, the entire bit from when he leaves prison in Hale Kane 15 to when he starts doing the research. So basically, that scene between him and his dad in the car on the way from prison to home is wrong.
You think?
Yeah. Because I think that just having everything taken away from him, having a potential great superhero career taken away from him at such a young age, Or maybe that would, or maybe that would have brought about the same sort of attitude that his grandfather had when his grandfather, well, he lost his powers and killed his wife in the same moment. And so despised the idea of being a superhero. So I think for KJ it could have also been the case that, well, maybe I don't want to be a superhero if I can't be one, apparently.
There's our first one.
Oh, jeez.
I did deliberately avoid a couple other chests because I'm pretty sure that they were stamps. In the original game, they would have either been nothing or rupees. I would have preferred the rupees. IMHO. It's not the correct direction to go.
I think the timer went off.
Probably did a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Alright. Well, next time on
Hale Kane.
this game.